Hello everyone, my name is Kelly Johnson and I work in the curriculum team at NCFE. This webinar is for the Level 1/2 Technical Award in Business and Enterprise. The plan for this webinar is to give you a basic overview of the VCERT qualification, the externally examined assessment including key dates and resit information, the Synoptic Project, which is the internally assessed coursework and how to assess it, and finally, a summary of the resources that are available to help and support you. Let us begin with an overview of the VCERT Level 1/2 Technical Award qualification. The Level 1/2 Technical Award is a vocational qualification which is designed to be completed by Level 1 and Level 2 learners. So if you have a mixed ability class, they will be taught the same content. The grading covers Pass, Merit, Distinction and Distinction Star at both Level 1 and Level 2. The Level 1/2 Technical Awards consist of an external assessment worth 40% and internally assessed coursework worth 60%. The content of both will cover Level 1 and Level 2 learners, and they will be given the same exam and the same synoptic project. The external assessment is an invigilated exam paper and is on a set date and time lasting an hour and a half, whereas the synoptic project coursework is in supervised sessions instead of being invigilated. There is no set date or time, but there are deadlines to meet. Learners have a maximum of 21 hours to complete the coursework, and it is open book, so learners are allowed their teaching and learning materials, internet access, etc. You may be familiar with this chart that shows how the VCERT grading matches with the GCSE grading. Level 1 goes up to a maximum of a Grade 3 equivalent with a distinction star. The Level 2 distinction star is equivalent to a maximum of a Grade 8.5. The Department for Education has set this maximum as they want the top grades, i.e. the 9s, to be academic GCSE achievement only. VCERTs fit into the open group or the third bucket for performance points. This group can hold up to 3 qualifications depending on the qualification size and/or its weighting, etc. VCERTs can be delivered alongside other qualifications, but please do bear in mind the discount codes applicable to each subject area. So for example, if you were doing a traditional GCSE in business studies and we're also delivering our technical award in business and enterprise with the same learners, then only one of those will count in the performance tables as their content is similar. Next, we will have a look at the external assessment in a bit more detail. Unit 1 has 48 guided learning hours, which is important to consider if you are delivering to Year 10 or if you are delivering to Year 11 for the first time. The exam lasts an hour and a half with a total of 80 marks, and there are exam opportunities in November and March each year. So if you were beginning with Year 10, then it might be best to have an exam in March of Year 10 or November of Year 11. And the reason for this is because there is only one resit opportunity available. If you are beginning with Year 11, then I would recommend having them sit the exam in November so the resit is available for them in March, but this will all depend on how much contact time you have with the class. On the timetable, it will also tell you the cut-off date for registering your learners for the external assessment, and this is usually about 2 weeks before the exam. Please note there is a late fee if learners are registered late. Whichever exam they perform better in is the grade that counts towards their final grade. The Level 1/2 Technical Award covers 5 assessment objectives, and the first 3 are about using and demonstrating knowledge and understanding, and it is these that will be used in the external examination. As mentioned in the previous slide, the external assessment will cover the first 3 assessment objectives. For business and enterprise, 40% of the marks in the exam are for recalling and showing knowledge and understanding, whereas the higher order thinking of analysis and evaluation will account for 25% of the marks. This allows the assessments to cover both Level 1 and Level 2 learners, and the style of questions is a mix of short answer, multiple choice, and longer response questions. There are three main types of questions on the external assessment, and where possible, they have been set within a business and enterprise context with real-world case studies. The first type of question is multiple choice, and these are usually 1 or 2 marks. Multiple choice questions cover assessment objective 1, like this one from business and enterprise, where the learner must then identify one example of an external stakeholder. The second type of question is short answer, and they are usually around 4 marks. Short answer questions such as this example ask learners to explain 2 methods that could be used to promote a business. The third type of question is extended response. Extended response questions are usually worth 6 marks or more. This example is a 9-mark question and asks learners to use their knowledge of promotional methods to evaluate why a small business would prefer to use social media to promote their business rather than using local radio and local newspaper advertising. Next, we will look at grading. I'm sure you might be familiar with UMS, Uniform Mark Scale, but if you're not, it's a method used to standardise the marking of papers across multiple exam windows by converting the raw mark out of 80 into a UMS score. The final grade in the external assessment is determined by converting the raw mark into a maximum UMS of 160. A minimum of 24 UMS is needed to get a Level 1 pass, and a minimum of a Level 1 pass is required in both the external assessment and the Synoptic Project to obtain an overall grade. When we look at the grade boundaries from the most recent assessment, in most cases the recall of knowledge from Assessment Objective 1 would have been enough to secure the learners a Level 2 pass. The grade boundaries can be found within the Chief Examiner's report, and as you can see, they are slightly lower in November 2020, but COVID and a move to remote delivery in the spring and summer term could account for such a difference. Now I'll go through the Synoptic Project. The project itself, since it's synoptic, must have all the content and assessment objectives delivered prior to beginning the project. The project can only be done in the learner's final year, so the year that the learners will be certified. Learners have a maximum of 21 supervised hours, and it must be undertaken independently. Formal supervision is required, so no feedback or guidance can be given to the learners at this point. The project can take place during regular scheduled lessons, or a centre can block out time for learners to complete it. NCFE set the assessment so the tasks and brief of the Synoptic Project itself are unable to be changed or altered in any way. Any research the student carries out must be suitably acknowledged or referenced, and it can be used to assist them when undertaking the project. They can also use any of their teaching and learning materials from lessons, etc., but these materials cannot be submitted as evidence. Learners can adjust and change their work, but not if it is because of feedback, hints or guidance from the teacher. Once a Synoptic project has been completed, their evidence must be securely stored. If this is on an intranet system, it must be in a secure and protected file and the learner log completed to validate the work. This next slide is an example Synoptic project from the Business and Enterprise vCert. It had a scenario of a company selling their own brand of high quality trainers. The brief included tasks like creating a business plan and included a company description, marketing analysis, marketing, people and operations, and a financial plan. The evidence produced usually has a range of options available unless stated otherwise, such as leaflets, posters, written reports, presentations and so on, but most centres do opt for some digital form of evidence. The learner log is something the learners must complete during their project. They will keep a record of different activities they did and the resources and time dedicated to it. At the end, they will evaluate their project, and this will allow learners to achieve Assessment Objective 5, which is to manage and evaluate the project. From the 5 assessment objectives mentioned earlier, the Synoptic Project covers all of them. However, the biggest focus of the Synoptic Project will be on Assessment Objective 4, which is to demonstrate and apply technical skills and processes. And for Business and Enterprise, Assessment Objective 4 is worth 45% of the final Synoptic Project grade. When it comes to assessing the Synoptic Project, it should be done holistically. You will be judging the project as a whole, and it will be assessed against each of the assessment objectives. Descriptors have been written for each assessment objective, and assessors will use the grading descriptors to determine the banding decision for each assessment objective. The students will also be able to see these grading descriptors as they are on the Synoptic Project brief. There are 4 bands that can be awarded: Not Yet Achieved, Band 1, Band 2, and Band 3. To determine the grade achieved for the Synoptic Project, you can use the grading calculator on QualHub. On here, you can place the learner's name and place the band achieved against each assessment objective. This will then calculate the grade achieved for the Synoptic Project. You can see that with learner A, the bands they achieved were a 2, 2, 2, 1 and a 2, giving them an overall grade of a level 1 distinction. Whereas learner B got 2s for every assessment objective and got a level 2 merit overall. This shows how important assessment objective 4 is, and that it is only assessment objective that learner B did better on, but they jumped up 2 grades. Before you let the learners know their grade, the work needs to go through the internal quality assurance process. As our mission is to promote and advance learning, we have several resources available to help and support you with that. The key area for support will be QualHub. qualhub.co.uk will be your primary go-to, where you can search for all our qualifications and access the specification, assessments, teaching materials, regulations and much more. Begin typing your qualification subject area and it will give you a suggested list of qualifications, or you can simply type in your qualification code. Let us begin by focusing on some of the teaching materials that are available on QualHub and are free of charge. We have schemes of work which completely outline entire units of work based on 1-hour lessons. There are also individual lesson plans for each presentation with suggested timings, lesson aims, learning outcomes, and suggested assessment activities. We also have complete PowerPoint presentations covering the teaching content from the specification and includes teaching activities that could be used with your learners. And finally, there is a workbook and individual worksheets to accompany the lessons, or can be used as homework or flipped learning opportunities, whatever you decide. And as with all these resources, it is best to use them and adjust them to suit your learners. Using actual assessment material is a good way to make revision effective, and the material I'm now going to show you is also available free of charge. For every qualification, you will find past or sample exam papers, and you will also find the mark schemes, and they will say which assessment objectives are being addressed by the question. Furthermore, the Chief Examiner's Report, which can be found in assessment materials on QualHub, does provide an insight to how learners perform nationally on the different questions. For example, which questions had strong answers, which were answered incorrectly, and what were the common errors, which can help to inform your future teaching. There are some exam prep exercises for different questions, but these are mostly for the extended response questions. For the business and enterprise extended response questions, there are worksheets that also include model answers which can be used to improve learners' achievement. The example here is a 6-mark question about discussing organisational business structures. These can be useful for exam preparation and revision and determining which methods your class or learners find the most effective. We also have past and sample projects which can be accessed, and we have sample learner portfolios. Due to the content crossover with the Synoptic Project and external assessment, some of the exemplar portfolios can be also used for revision. Another tool which is part of the NCFE group is Skills Forward. They are one of the UK's leading e-learning software and assessment solutions for functional skills, GCSEs, apprenticeships and employability skills. The unique assessments, resources and summative assessments can transform how education providers approach functional skills, GCSE and the employability skills development of learners. But in terms of the V-certs, the most useful part of Skills Forward is probably the skills portfolio. Skills portfolio allows learners to submit evidence and keep records of their work, which will allow centres to manage, monitor and assess their learners remotely. The assessor is also able to upload evidence for learners too, for example, witness statements for the internal assessments. It can allow for easy management of the quality process too, and complies with Ofsted and Education and Skills Funding Agency requirements, giving you the evidence needed during inspection. iAchieve is a useful third-party site which has been endorsed by NCFE and specifically covers the NCFE Level 1/2 Technical Award in Business and Enterprise. iAchieve is an online learning platform where learners have their own learning space. Aside from the skills learners will gain from the V-cert, we have also developed a suite of resources to support the wider curriculum and skills learners will need. These include 32 sessions, each lasting 2 hours, and they cover personal, social, health and economic education, study skills, employability and career skills. These packs can be found within the teaching materials on QualHub. We have now reached the end of the webinar, so thank you for your time today and I hope you found this useful. If you do have any questions, then please do get in touch anytime with me directly using my email kellyjohnson@ncfe.org.uk, or if I'm unavailable, our general email is curriculum@ncfe.org.uk.